It's been brought to my attention that my use of the word seducing is slightly loose. The things that I mention in this video can definitely be used in romantic entanglements, but when I say seducing, I basically mean making them like you. Or in the case of the INTJs, making them not instantly hate you. Get physical. INTJs highly value the sensory realm, such as indulgences in food and pleasures of the body. However, since their introverted intuition has such a dominating effect on their life, they'll often neglect the sensual realm. Bringing them back in touch with their body and their senses in a way that is not overly stimulating would be very seductive. Here's a good example of that. Going out for a walk or some physical exercise, followed by a really nice meal. Then coming home with plenty of time left to carry on with whatever the INTJ is working on. Here's a not so good example. Going out dancing in an extremely loud nightclub all night long, with your only travel plans being, I hope the cab driver doesn't kill us on the way home. The inferior function needs to be handled or fondled delicately. You have to coax it out of its shell, but don't overwhelm it. Understand their values. The extent to which an INTJ's introverted feeling influences their life, I think, is often underestimated. Their individual identity and values are not only precious to them, but are a relentless driving force and motivation in their lives. There isn't really a quick way to work out what a person's values are, so it takes time. But INTJs can talk once you get them started. Usually it's a lecture about their ideas on life, or plans they're working on, or, of course, conspiracy theories. Either way, once you get them started, just put the kettle on, sit down, and prepare to silently nod quite a lot. If you dare to interject with a question or correction, make sure it's well thought out. Otherwise it will just be swatted away quite effortlessly. Eventually you'll start to see these underlying patterns emerge. These values can be as straightforward as a political opinion, or lack thereof, or run as deep as being a philosophy that they live by. One of the reasons it's so important to know these things when it comes to INTJs is that they are notoriously non-movable when they've come to a decision or conclusion about something. Of course, they can be reasoned out of opinions that are wrong, but that takes a lot of effort. Once you know their values, you're extremely well placed to understand why they're reacting in different situations, and why they're making the life choices that they do. Be an emotional translator. Having extroverted feeling as a polar function means that INTJs will not always feel the need to manage perceptions. For example, explaining to someone why they are wrong is, in theory, a very helpful and useful thing to do for them. But the emotional finesse and subtlety with which you do it will be the actual difference maker when it comes to whether the person will even engage with what you're saying, let alone think about and come to accept it. Any personality type that has FE low down needs to reconcile themselves with the fundamentally irrational nature of human beings. Emotional appeals often get better responses than logical ones. Acting as a kind of buffer or go-between for INTJs will be very seductive. If you sense FE ignorance coming, then just step in to lessen the impact. So I had this experience with an INTJ friend of mine where we essentially crashed an event where companies were pitching for prospective employees. I think that's called a job fair or job market. His plan was to just walk in there and 1, hire somebody as his personal assistant, and 2, convince the people there to also buy his product. So I was like, okay, I'm down. I'm not going to step in the way of your introverted intuition's master plan. So we walk into the room and everyone there is wearing suits, except us. I'm wearing my usual jeans, black boots, black shirt or t-shirt, black coat, black soul. So we both float into the room like two spirits from the underworld, or Death Eaters. He hands over his business cards to me, gives me the pitch in a nutshell, and says, okay, let's talk to people. So after a while of going up to people and speaking with them, I can clearly feel that they're not responding well. We're giving off a lack of professionalism, and we're just going up to people in an unsmooth and socially strange way. Essentially, we have an extroverted feeling problem. So I step back from the situation and I think, is there anything to be salvaged here? So I noticed that all of the official companies that are there have stalls set up and tables. I spot that there's a free table right next to the water cooler, which is being frequently used. A lot of nervous, dry throats in job fairs. So I think, I'm just going to sit there. If they ask me to move, I'll say, I just wanted someone to sit down. I lay the business cards out on the table and suddenly we have a stall. Admittedly, one that we weren't allowed to have and didn't pay for, but a stall nonetheless. Sitting there at a table instantly give us that sense of legitimacy. Simply by virtue of the way we appeared, people would now come up to us and start talking. So when people came up to the stall, I would take care of the small talk. And as soon as things got technical, I would simply pass them over to the INTJ. So that story is a bit of a bizarre example of how much of a difference that FE awareness can make. If you can be a person in an INTJ's life that constantly demonstrates that to them, firstly, it's very seductive and valuable. But secondly, they'll also learn. INTJs are fast learners. They'll see the need for it and they will be much better off as a result. Appearance manager. So I'm just going to throw this one in at the end because I'm not entirely sure it's an INTJ thing. And if it is, it may simply be an INTJ guy thing. All of the male INTJs I've known like to wear the same thing every day. Not the exact same outfit, but the same type of outfit. So one very strange and very practical tip would be convince the INTJ to get a signature look and to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort picking out the outfit they want to wear all the time. That way, they don't have to spend a second in the morning thinking about what they have to wear, yet they can still look good. So we recently set up a Patreon where you can fund our world domination, request a video, and if it's a really good idea for a video, we'll have it on the channel too. And if you think our insight is worthwhile, we'll also give you our best guess at what type we think you are. So we love having guests on this channel, so much so that absolutely anyone can be a host on this channel. Essentially, that just means appearing in a video. The video doesn't have to be about personality types, it can be about anything. As long as it's interesting or fun or informative. If you have an idea, just email us.